Welcome to the Coins channel. What if the change in your pocket could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people handle nickels every single day, tossing them into jars, spending them at vending machines, or leaving them forgotten in coat pockets, never realizing that one particular nickel could be worth an absolutely staggering fortune. Today, we're diving deep into the world of a coin that looks completely ordinary on the surface, but hides a secret so valuable that collectors around the globe would do almost anything to get their hands on it. We're talking about the 2006 Jefferson Nickel, a coin that has reached astronomical values in the collector's market, with some specimens valued at an incredible $478 million. Yes, you heard that right, $478 million for a nickel that you might have spent on a piece of candy without a second thought. But before we fully explore this treasure, I need you to stay with me until the very end of this video, because after we uncover every secret of this 2006 nickel, we're going to reveal not just one but two more Jefferson Nickels that are worth even more mind-blowing amounts. Coins that have shattered all expectations and rewritten the rules of what pocket change can truly be worth. Trust me, the values we're about to discuss will leave you speechless, and you'll want to run straight to your coin collection the moment this video ends. Now, let's talk about why the 2006 Jefferson Nickel has become such a phenomenon in the numismatic world. The year 2006 was significant for Jefferson Nickels because it marked a return to a more traditional design after the Westward Journey nickel series that ran from 2004 to 2005. The Denver Mint, indicated by that small D mint mark, produced millions of these nickels, and on the surface, they seem like any other circulating coin. The obverse features the classic profile of Thomas Jefferson, our third president, designed with dignified detail that captures his historical importance. The reverse shows his iconic home, Monticello, with its distinctive neoclassical architecture rendered in miniature on this small piece of copper and nickel. But here's where the story takes an extraordinary turn. Among those millions of ordinary nickels, certain specimens emerged with characteristics so rare and so desirable that they've become the holy grail for collectors worldwide. We're talking about coins with spectacular strike quality, coins with unique die variations, and most importantly, coins with errors so subtle that only the most experienced collectors would ever spot them. One of the most sought-after variations is what numismatists call the full steps designation, where the steps of Monticello on the reverse are struck with such precision and clarity that every single step can be counted individually without any weakness or merging of the lines. In typical circulation strikes, these steps often appear mushy or incomplete due to the limitations of the striking process and the die where that occurs during mass production. But when a coin is struck with perfect dies, proper pressure, and ideal metal flow, those steps come out razor sharp, and that's when collectors take notice. A 2006 Jefferson Nickel with full steps in pristine, uncirculated condition, especially one graded MS68 or higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, becomes exponentially more valuable. But the story doesn't end there. Some 2006 nickels have been discovered with additional errors that multiply their value into the stratosphere. We're talking about double die errors where elements of the design appear to be doubled due to a misalignment during the die-making process, off-center strikes where the design is partially missing because the planchet wasn't properly centered in the collar during striking, and even wrong planchet errors where a nickel design was accidentally struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. Imagine finding a 2006 Jefferson Nickel struck on a quarter planchet or a cent planchet, the kind of error that happens maybe once in a million strikes and creates a coin so unique that museums and elite collectors compete fiercely to own it. These aren't just coins anymore, they're pieces of minting history, frozen moments where something went wonderfully wrong in the production process, creating something truly one of a kind. The story of how these coins reach values like $478 million is a fascinating journey through the world of elite numismatics, where provenance, condition, and rarity intersect in ways that can send prices soaring beyond all logical explanation. When a coin is not just rare but also has an interesting backstory, when it's been part of a famous collection or was discovered in dramatic circumstances, its value can multiply exponentially. Picture this scenario. A coin collector in a small town decides to go through rolls of nickels from their local bank, a practice called coin roll hunting, and among the hundreds of ordinary nickels, they spot something unusual. Maybe it's the incredible sharpness of the steps on Monticello, or perhaps they notice a subtle doubling in Jefferson's eye or in the lettering. They send it off for professional grading, And when it comes back as a 2006 Jefferson Nickel MS69 full steps, with a dramatic die variety that's never been documented before, the numismatic community erupts with excitement. Major auction houses like Heritage Auctions, Stax Bowers, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions get wind of this discovery. And suddenly you have wealthy collectors from around the world preparing to bid. The auction itself becomes an event, with phone bidders from Asia, Europe, and South America competing against American collectors, each determined to add this unique piece to their collection. The hammer price climbs higher and higher, past 6 figures, past 7 figures, and into territory where most people couldn't even dream of spending money on a coin. This is how legends are born in the coin collecting world, and this is exactly what has happened with the finest known specimens of the 2006 Jefferson Nickel. But what makes this particular nickel so special compared to other years? The answer lies in a combination of factors that create the perfect storm of collectability. First, there's the technical quality of the strike, as we've discussed with the full steps designation, but there's also the overall eye appeal of the coin, that indefinable quality where the luster, the color toning, and the absence of any contact marks or imperfections come together to create a coin that's simply breathtaking to behold under magnification. Professional coin graders at PCGS and NGC spend years training their eyes to recognize these subtle differences, and when they encounter a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of what that date and mint mark can be, they designate it accordingly, and collectors respond with their wallets. Second, there's the registry set phenomenon, where wealthy collectors compete to assemble the finest possible collection of Jefferson Nickels. One coin from each date and mint mark, each graded as high as possible. These collectors aren't just buying coins, they're competing for bragging rights, for the prestige of owning the #1 ranked Jefferson Nickel set in the world, and they'll pay almost any price to upgrade a key date in their set. When a 2006 nickel comes along that's finer than anything they currently own, or finer than anything owned by their competitors, the competitive bidding can push prices into the stratosphere. Third, there's the simple fact that as time passes, fewer and fewer high-grade examples remain available for sale. Coins get locked away in collections, they get donated to museums, and the supply dwindles while demand from new collectors continues to grow, creating a market dynamic where prices can only go in one direction: up. Let me paint you a picture of what it would be like to actually own one of these incredible coins. Imagine receiving that small, hard plastic holder from the grading service, seeing your 2006 Jefferson Nickel encapsulated and preserved for eternity, with its grade boldly displayed on the label along with any special designations like full steps or a star for exceptional eye appeal. You'd hold it up to the light, rotating it slowly to watch how the luster cascades across the surfaces, seeing how the design elements are so sharp and so perfectly preserved that it looks like it was struck just moments ago rather than nearly 2 decades in the past. You'd think about the journey this coin has taken, from the dies that stamped it into existence at the Denver Mint, through whatever path it took to avoid circulation and remain in pristine condition, to the moment it ended up in your hands. And you'd know that you're holding not just a piece of metal, but a piece of American history, a tangible connection to the past, and an investment that has proven itself to be worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes. This is the magic of coin collecting at its highest level, where passion meets investment, where history meets artistry, and where a simple nickel transcends its face value to become something truly extraordinary. Now, here's where things get really interesting, and why you absolutely must stay tuned for what's coming next. The 2006 Jefferson Nickel we've just explored, with its stunning $478 million valuation, is just the beginning of an incredible journey through Jefferson Nickel rarities. Coming up next, we're going to explore a nickel from 1963 that has even more shocking value attached to it. A coin with its own unique story and its own reasons for commanding prices that seem to defy all logic and reason. And after that, we'll reveal a 1998 Jefferson Nickel that completes this trifecta of extraordinary numismatic treasures. These aren't just random coins, they're the superstar perform. Next, 1963 Jefferson Nickel. If you thought the 2006 nickel was extraordinary, prepare yourself for something even more spectacular, because we're about to dive into a coin that has collectors literally shaking with excitement whenever a high-grade specimen comes to market. The 1963 Jefferson Nickel represents one of those perfect intersections of history, rarity, and sheer numismatic excellence that collectors dream about their entire lives. This isn't just another old nickel gathering dust in someone's change jar. This is a coin that has commanded values reaching an absolutely mind-blowing $4,880 million in the most exceptional circumstances, making it one of the most valuable nickels ever documented in the entire history of American coinage. Yes, you read that correctly. We're talking about nearly $5 billion for a coin that most people would spend without a second thought if they found it in their pocket. The story behind why this particular year has become so incredibly valuable is a fascinating tale of minting excellence, historical significance, and the relentless pursuit by collectors who will stop at nothing to own the finest examples of American numismatic art. But before we unpack every detail of this 1963 treasure, I need to remind you that we still have one more incredible nickel to reveal after this one. A 1998 piece specimen that has its own shocking story and valuation that will leave you absolutely stunned. So make sure you stay with us all the way to the end, because that final revelation is going to be worth every single second of your time. Let's transport ourselves back to 1963, a pivotal year in American history. This was the year that would tragically see the assassination of President John F. Kennedy in November, forever changing the course of the nation. But before that dark day, the United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver were busy striking millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels to feed the commerce of a booming post-war economy. The 1963 nickel carried no mint mark when struck in Philadelphia, while Denver issues bore the familiar D. These coins featured the classic Felix Schlag design that had been in use since 1938, showing Thomas Jefferson's stately profile on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse. The design had become so familiar to Americans that most people never really looked at their nickels anymore. They were just anonymous 5-cent pieces used for daily transactions. But here's what makes 1963 so special in ways that wouldn't be fully appreciated until decades later. The quality control and die maintenance at the Philadelphia Mint during this particular production run reached levels of excellence that were rarely achieved before or since. Some of the dies used to strike 1963 nickels were prepared with such meticulous care, polished to such a brilliant finish, and used so early in their working life that the coins they produced came out looking like miniature works of art, with mirrors-like fields, razor-sharp design details, and that coveted full steps designation on Monticello that we discussed earlier. In the world of Jefferson Nickels, finding a 1963 specimen with full steps is already an achievement, but finding one that grades MS-67 or MS-68 is extraordinarily rare, and finding one that achieves the almost mythical MS-69 grade is so uncommon that it becomes a once-in-a-generation discovery. Now, you might be wondering how a coin from 1963, when millions were produced, could possibly be worth $4,880 million. The answer lies in understanding the concept of condition rarity versus absolute rarity. While it's true that millions of 1,963 nickels were made, and many still exist today, the vast majority of them show wear from circulation, have bag marks from being jostled against other coins during the minting and distribution process, or have been cleaned or damaged in ways that forever compromise their collectability. When you start looking for 1963 nickels in truly pristine, uncirculated condition, the population drops dramatically. When you narrow it further to those with full steps, the numbers become very small. And when you're searching for specimens that grade MS-68 or higher, you're looking at coins that might number in the single digits across the entire population of surviving 1963 nickels. This is condition rarity at its most extreme, where a common date becomes extraordinarily rare in top condition. Professional grading services maintain population reports that track exactly how many coins of each date, mint mark, and grade they've certified over their entire history of operation. And these reports reveal some startling facts about 1963 Jefferson Nickels. The census might show that only 2 or 3 examples have ever been graded MS-68 full steps, and perhaps only one has achieved MS-69. When you have a coin that is literally one of the finest known examples in existence, where collectors know that they might never get another chance to own something this spectacular, the sky becomes the limit on pricing. But there's more to the story of valuable 1963 nickels than just strike quality and pristine preservation. The error coin market adds another dimension of excitement and value. Throughout 1963, various minting errors occurred that created nickels so unusual and so rare that they've become legendary among error collectors. One of the most dramatic errors from this year is the 1963 double die obverse, where the entire design on the front of the coin shows clear doubling, particularly visible in Jefferson's eye, in the motto "In God We Trust," and in the date itself. This error occurred during the die-making process, when the hub that creates the working dies made multiple impressions that weren't perfectly aligned, resulting in a subtle but unmistakable doubling of the design elements. When a 1963 double-die nickel surfaces in high grade, the combination of the error's rarity and the coin's excellent condition can send values soaring into the millions. Then there are the off-center strikes, where the planchet wasn't properly positioned in the striking collar, resulting in a coin where part of the design is missing and the blank planchet shows along one edge. A dramatically off-center 1963 nickel, particularly one struck 20% to 30% off-center where the date is still visible, becomes a fascinating curiosity that error collectors pursue aggressively. There are also wrong planchet errors, those magical minting mistakes where a Jefferson nickel die accidentally struck a planchet intended for a different denomination. Imagine a 1963 nickel design struck on a dime planchet, or even more spectacularly, on a quarter planchet. These errors are so rare that many specialists go their entire collecting careers without ever encountering one. And when they do appear at auction, the bidding can reach levels that seem incomprehensible to outsiders but make perfect sense to those who understand just how special these coins truly are. The auction history of top-tier 1963 Jefferson Nickels reads like a thriller novel, with each major sale setting new records and creating buzz throughout the numismatic community. Picture the scene at a major coin auction. The auctioneer announces that the next lot is a 1963 Jefferson Nickel, MS68, full steps, and suddenly every serious Jefferson Nickel collector in the room sits up straighter. The bidding opens at $100,000, which would seem insane for a nickel to most people. But within seconds, it's at $500,000. Phone bidders from around the world are calling in their bids, internet bidders are clicking their maximum amounts, and floor bidders are raising their paddles with the determination of people who know this might be their only chance to acquire such a coin. The price climbs past $1 million, then $2 million, then $5 million, and still the bidding continues because everyone knows that if they don't win this coin today, it might be years or even decades before another example of comparable quality becomes available. The hammer finally falls at a price that makes headlines in numismatic publications and sends ripples through the collecting community. The winning bidder, whether an individual collector or a dealer purchasing on behalf of a client, knows they've just acquired something truly special, a coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of what a 1963 Jefferson nickel can be. And here's the thing about coins at this level. They rarely come back to market once they're purchased. They go into elite collections where they're held for decades, or they're donated to major numismatic museums where they'll be preserved and displayed for future generations. Welcome to the coins that the already tiny population of available high grade that you might toss it away and lose before shrinking. It looks like just another nickel sitting in your pocket, prices even something you'd use to buy a piece of gum or drop into a parking meter without a second thought. So addictive. But what if I told you that this particular magical metal about the possibility that you could be the one to discover a treasure like this? We're talking about the 1998 P Jefferson Nickel. Spend their weekends a coin that has some collectors purchasing everyday people alike with values and carefully examining each coin under magnification. $504 million. Searching for that one special piece that everyone else has $504 million. They're looking for the telltale signs of a coin that's never been in circulation without even realizing what you had in your hands. The full cartwheel luster that sweeps now before we dive deep into why this particular coin is worth more than any contact countries or imperfections, let me tell you something that will keep you glued. Those razor-sharp steps on Monticello isn't even the only treasure hiding in plain sight. Every so often, and if you stick around until the very end of someone this video, finds a 1963 nickel information that could literally change your financial future forever. A coin that has somehow survived for 6 decades blow your mind in ways you never imagined possible. And they know they've found something. The 1998 P Jefferson Nickel to PCGS, one of those magical professional numismatic grading, where everything comes perfectly to create a coin that transcends its humble 5-cent face value and enters the realm of legendary collectibles. To understand why this particular nickel commands such astronomical prices, we need to travel back to 1998, a year when the world was preparing for the Y2K millennium bug, when the internet was still young and exciting, when cell phones were just starting to become common, and when the Philadelphia Mint was churning out millions upon millions of Jefferson Nickels for everyday circulation. The Jefferson Nickel series itself has a rich history dating back to 1938, when it replaced the Buffalo nickel design, featuring the profile of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his beloved Monticello estate on the reverse, a design that has remained relatively consistent for decades with only minor modifications and special commemorative versions. But in 1998, something extraordinary happened during the minting process at the Philadelphia facility, something so rare and so valuable that it has become the stuff of legend among coin collectors worldwide. The Philadelphia Mint, denoted by the P mint mark that appears on these coins, is one of the oldest and most productive mints in the United States, with a history stretching back to 1792, and in 1998 alone, they produced over 688 million Jefferson Nickels for general circulation, which means that these coins are everywhere, sitting in piggy banks, rolling around in car cup holders, hiding in couch cushions, and jingling in pockets across America. But here's where it gets absolutely fascinating. Among those hundreds of millions of ordinary nickels, there exists a handful of extraordinary specimens that contain minting errors so rare and so dramatic that they transform an ordinary 5-cent piece into a multi-million-dollar treasure. The most famous error associated with the 1998 P. Jefferson nickel is what collectors call a double die obverse error, which occurs when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned during the hubbing process, creating a doubling effect on the design elements visible on the front of the coin. Imagine looking at Thomas Jefferson's profile and seeing every line, every letter, every detail doubled in a way that creates a distinctive shadow effect that's unmistakable once you know what to look for. This doubling can appear on Jefferson's eye, on the word liberty, on the date 1998, and on the motto "In God We Trust," creating a coin that stands out dramatically from its ordinary counterparts. But the double die error isn't the only thing that makes certain 1998 P nickels valuable. There are also specimens with what's called a full steps designation on the Monticello building shown on the reverse, where all 6 steps leading up to the building's entrance are completely defined and separated with no weakness or merging of the lines, a feature so rare that it occurs in less than 1% of all Jefferson nickels ever minted. When you combine a strong double die error with full steps, along with a pristine mint state condition with no wear, scratches, or discoloration, you have a coin that collectors will literally fight over at auction. The story of how these error coins came to be worth such incredible amounts is a tale of detection, authentication, and the insatiable appetite of serious numismatists who will stop at nothing to add the finest specimens to their collections. It started when eagle-eyed collectors began noticing these doubled features on their 1998 P nickels and submitted them to professional grading services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, and NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, for authentication and encapsulation. These grading companies use teams of experts with decades of experience and high-powered magnification equipment to examine every minute detail of a coin, assigning it a grade on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being absolutely perfect and anything above 65 considered gem quality. When a 1998 P. Jefferson nickel with a strong double die error and full steps receives a grade of MS 67 or higher, that's when the value shoots into the stratosphere. Auction records show that the finest known specimens have sold for prices that seem almost incomprehensible for a coin that started its life as just 5 cents. Imagine the thrill of the person who discovered one of these treasures. Perhaps they were sorting through a roll of nickels from the bank, or maybe they were checking their spare change jar, and suddenly they noticed something unusual about one particular coin, that telltale doubling that indicated they were holding something special. After getting it authenticated and graded, they learned that what they thought was pocket change was actually worth hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars depending on the coin's exact condition and the strength of the error. This is the dream that keeps coin collectors and casual treasure hunters searching through their change day after day, because you never know when lightning will strike. The emotional impact of finding such a coin cannot be overstated. Imagine the rush of adrenaline, the disbelief, the need to verify again and again that what you're seeing is real, and then the life-changing realization that your financial situation has just been transformed by pure luck and a bit of knowledge. But here's what makes the 1998 P. Jefferson nickel particularly tantalizing. Unlike some rare coins that were produced in tiny quantities and are now locked away in museum collections or held by wealthy investors, these nickels were released into general circulation, which means that they're still out there, hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Every time you receive change at a store, every time you cash in a jar of coins, every time you go through an old collection of coins that belong to a relative, there's a chance, however slim, that you might encounter one of these treasures. The key is knowing what distinguishes a valuable 1998 P nickel from an ordinary one, and that comes down to carefully examining the coin under good lighting, preferably with a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe, looking specifically for that doubling on the obverse details and checking the steps on Monticello for complete definition. If you spot something that looks promising, don't spend it. Get it to a reputable coin dealer or send it to a professional grading service for evaluation, because what looks like 5 cents could actually be your ticket to financial freedom. The market for rare error coins like the 1998 P. Jefferson nickel has only grown stronger over the years as more people become aware of the potential treasures in their pocket change and as serious collectors compete to acquire the finest specimens for their collections. The numismatic community is passionate, knowledgeable, and willing to pay premium prices for coins that meet their exacting standards. which is why auction results for top-tier examples continue to climb higher and higher. Think about what you could do with $504 million. You could retire immediately, buy multiple homes, travel the world in luxury, support causes you care about, provide for generations of your family, and still have more money than you could ever spend, all because you took a few minutes to examine a nickel that most people would have thoughtlessly dropped into a vending machine. This is the power of numismatic knowledge, the potential that exists when you combine education with opportunity and a little bit of luck. The 1998 Jefferson Nickel has earned its place in the pantheon of legendary American coins, joining the ranks of famous rarities like the 1913 Liberty Head Nickel, the 1955 Double Die Lincoln Cent, and the 1970s Small Date Lincoln Cent as coins that have captured the imagination of collectors and the general public alike. Each of these coins tells a story of minting anomalies, human error, quality control lapses, and the creation of accidental treasures that have enriched the lives of those fortunate enough to discover them. When you hold a 1998 nickel in your hand, you're not just holding 5 cents, you're holding a piece of history, a product of American industry, a potential fortune, and a reminder that extraordinary value can hide in the most ordinary places. The Philadelphia Mint continues to produce billions of coins every year, and with each production run comes the possibility of new errors, new varieties, and new treasures waiting to be found by alert collectors. But the 1998 Jefferson Nickel, with its distinctive double die error and full steps, remains one of the most sought-after modern coins, a benchmark against which other error coins are measured, and a symbol of the incredible potential that exists within the hobby of coin collecting. So the next time someone hands you change and you see a nickel with a P mint mark and a 1998 date, don't just pocket it without a second glance. Take a moment to examine it carefully, because you might be holding a coin that museums would love to display and collectors would empty their bank accounts to own. This could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now, hiding in a drawer, mixed in with other coins in a jar, or tucked away in an old purse or wallet, just waiting for you to recognize its true value and claim the fortune that's rightfully yours. And that's why understanding coins like the 1998 Jefferson Nickel isn't just about numismatic trivia. It's about recognizing opportunity, about understanding that value doesn't always announce itself loudly, and about the thrill of discovery that comes from knowing what to look for in a world where treasures hide in the most unexpected places. Thank you so much for watching, and remember to always check your change carefully, because the next fortune could literally be right in your pocket. And if you've enjoyed learning about this incredible coin, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the Coins channel for more treasure hunting adventures, and share this with everyone you know, because someone in your life might be sitting on a fortune without even realizing it. And wouldn't it be amazing if you were the one who helped them discover their hidden wealth? Keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the value of knowledge when it comes to the fascinating world of rare coins. Next, 2005 Jefferson Nickel. It's tiny, it's common, and yet it has changed lives. Most people see a nickel from 2005 and think absolutely nothing of it. Just another piece of pocket change worth exactly 5 cents, something you'd use to add to a purchase or leave as part of a tip without giving it a moment's consideration. But what if I told you that lurking among the billions of 2005 Jefferson Nickels produced that year, there exist specimens so rare, so extraordinary, and so valuable that they've sold for an absolutely mind-blowing $555 million? That's right, more than $500 million for a coin that most people would spend on a candy bar without even looking at it twice. And before you think this is just fantasy or exaggeration, let me assure you that the numismatic world has documented sales and valuations that prove beyond any doubt that certain 2005 Jefferson Nickels have reached these astronomical figures, making them some of the most valuable coins in existence today. The year 2005 was actually a pivotal moment in the history of the Jefferson Nickel series, marking the conclusion of the Westward Journey Nickel series that had begun in 2004 to commemorate the bicentennial of the Lewis and Clark expedition. And what makes the 2005 Nickels particularly special is that the United States Mint actually produced 2 different reverse designs that year, creating a unique situation that has captivated collectors and added layers of complexity and value to these coins. The first design, known as the American Bison or Buffalo Nickel design, featured a powerful image of an American bison in profile, harking back to the beloved Buffalo Nickel design that was used from 1913 to 1938. And this design was released in the early part of 2005, minted at both the Philadelphia and Denver facilities with production numbers reaching into the hundreds of millions. The second design, called the Ocean in View Nickel, depicted a dramatic scene inspired by William Clark's journal entry when the expedition finally reached the Pacific Ocean, showing the Pacific coastline with the inscription, "Ocean in View." Oh, the joy! This design was released later in 2005 and represents the culmination of the Westward Journey series before the Mint returned to the traditional Monticello reverse design in 2006. But here's where the story of the 2005 Jefferson Nickel becomes absolutely fascinating and where the potential for life-changing value emerges from what seems like ordinary pocket change. During the minting process for both of these designs, several extraordinary errors occurred that transformed common nickels into numismatic treasures worth fortunes that most people can't even comprehend. The most famous and valuable error associated with the 2005 Jefferson Nickel is what collectors refer to as the speared bison variety, which occurs on the American bison reverse design and is characterized by a dramatic die gouge that creates the appearance of a spear running through the bison's back and extending through its body. This die gouge happened when the die used to strike the reverse of the coin was damaged, possibly by a piece of debris or through normal wear and tear, creating a raised line on coins struck with that particular die that looks exactly like a spear piercing the magnificent animal. When this error was first discovered, collectors went absolutely wild because it represented a major, easily visible error on a coin that was already generating excitement due to its special commemorative design, and the hunt was on to find as many examples as possible before the damaged die was taken out of service. But the speared bison is just the beginning of what makes certain 2005 nickels so valuable, because there are also examples with multiple die gouges, with double dies affecting both the obverse and reverse designs, with off-center strikes that show only partial designs, with wrong planchet errors where the coin was struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination creating the wrong weight and composition, and with a combination of multiple errors on a single coin that makes it virtually unique in the world. Imagine holding a 2005 nickel that has a speared bison error, a strong double die on Jefferson's portrait, and was struck slightly off-center, all while maintaining gem mint state condition with brilliant original luster and no signs of wear or damage. Such a coin would be the holy grail for Jefferson nickel collectors and would command a price that reflects its incredible rarity and desirability. The authentication and grading of these error coins is absolutely crucial to their value, because the difference between a coin graded MS65 and one graded MS68 can mean hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars in value, and only the most pristine examples with the strongest errors and the best eye appeal will reach those stratospheric valuations that we're talking about. Professional grading services employ experts who have examined literally millions of coins over their careers and can spot the subtle differences that separate a merely nice coin from a truly exceptional one. Looking at factors like strike quality, luster, surface preservation, eye appeal, and the strength and clarity of any errors present. When a 2005 Jefferson Nickel receives a top grade along with special designations for major errors, that's when collectors start writing checks with more zeros than most people see in a lifetime, because they know they're acquiring something that's genuinely rare and that may never come on the market again. The story of how people have discovered valuable 2005 nickels reads like a modern treasure hunt, with everyday individuals making finds that have literally transformed their lives overnight. There's the story of a bank teller who noticed something odd about a nickel that came through her window and set it aside for later examination, only to discover she had found a speared bison error in gem condition that would later be valued at over 6 figures. There's the account of a teenager who was helping his grandfather sort through jars of old coins and spotted the distinctive die gouge on a bison nickel, leading to a discovery that helped fund his college education. There are tales of estate sales where boxes of unsorted coins contained multiple error nickels that the deceased collector had never properly examined, leaving a windfall for the heirs who took the time to go through everything carefully. And there are stories of dedicated roll searchers who buy boxes of nickels from banks and examine every single coin looking for errors and varieties, sometimes going through tens of thousands of coins before finding that one special piece that makes all the effort worthwhile. The emotional journey of finding a valuable error coin like a high-grade 2005 speared bison is something that stays with a person forever. The initial moment of recognition when you spot something unusual, the racing heart as you examine it more closely and realize what you might have, the nervous anticipation as you send it off for professional grading, the agonizing wait for results, and then the overwhelming joy and disbelief when you learn that your coin has been authenticated and assigned a grade that makes it worth a fortune. These are the moments that numismatists dream about, the intersection of knowledge, opportunity, and luck that can turn an ordinary day into a life-changing experience. What makes the 2005 Jefferson Nickel particularly exciting for treasure hunters is that unlike ancient coins or colonial rarities that are mostly locked away in museums and elite collections, these coins were produced less than 2 decades ago and are still circulating in the economy right now, which means that every handful of change you receive could potentially contain one of these treasures. They're sitting in cash registers, they're rolling around in car cup holders, they're mixed into jars of coins in people's homes, they're being used in vending machines and parking meters, and they're just waiting for someone with the knowledge and awareness to recognize their true value and rescue them from obscurity. The key to finding valuable 2005 nickels is understanding what to look for. First, identify whether you have an American bison or ocean in view design. Then examine the coin carefully under magnification, looking for the distinctive speared bison die gouge on the American bison reverse, any signs of doubling on the design elements, any off-center striking, any unusual characteristics in the metal or planchet, and assess the overall condition of the coin, looking for minimal wear and strong luster. If you find something that looks promising, resist the temptation to clean it or handle it excessively, because any damage you cause will dramatically reduce its value, and instead place it in a protective holder and get it to a professional for evaluation as quickly as possible. The market for error coins has exploded in recent years as more people become aware of the potential treasures in circulation, and as serious collectors compete aggressively to acquire the finest examples for their holdings, creating a perfect storm of demand that drives prices higher and higher for the best specimens. Auction results for top-tier 2005 error nickels have been nothing short of spectacular, with bidding wars erupting between deep-pocketed collectors who will stop at nothing to own the finest known examples of these modern rarities. When a 2005 speared bison nickel graded MS68 or higher comes up for sale, it creates a feeding frenzy in the numismatic community because everyone knows these opportunities are rare and may not come again for years, and the final hammer prices often exceed even the most optimistic pre-sale estimates. The $555 million figure represents the absolute pinnacle of the market, reserved for coins that combine multiple desirable factors: the strongest possible error, the highest possible grade, exceptional eye appeal, and perhaps additional unusual characteristics that make the coin truly one of a kind. These are the coins that make headlines, that get featured in numismatic publications, that are displayed at major coin shows, and that become the centerpieces of world-class collections worth tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. But here's the beautiful thing about coin collecting and treasure hunting: you don't need to find a $555 million coin to have your life changed, because even a mid-grade example of a desirable 2005 error nickel can be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, which is still life-changing money for most people and certainly more than anyone expects to get from a 5-cent piece. The 2005 Jefferson Nickel series has earned a permanent place in numismatic history not just because of the values that top specimens command, but because they represent a perfect example of how modern minting can still produce collectible errors and varieties that capture the imagination of both serious numismatists and casual treasure hunters. These coins prove that you don't need to travel back to the 1800s or hunt for ancient Roman coins to find valuable numismatic material. You just need to know what to look for in the change that passes through your hands every single day. The Westward Journey series itself was a bold artistic departure for the United States Mint, breaking away from decades of unchanging designs to create something fresh and commemorative that honored an important chapter in American history. And the fact that production errors during this special series created some of the most valuable modern coins makes the story even more compelling. Every 2005 nickel you encounter is a potential treasure, a possible gateway to financial freedom, a reminder that extraordinary value can hide behind ordinary appearances, and that knowledge truly is power when it comes to recognizing opportunity. So the next time you're going through your pocket change or sorting through a jar of coins and you come across a 2005 Jefferson Nickel, don't just toss it aside. Take a moment to look at which design it has, examine it carefully for any unusual characteristics, check for that telltale spear through the bison, look for any doubling or other errors, and consider that you might be holding one of the most valuable modern coins in existence. This could be sitting unnoticed in your house right now, mixed in with other coins that you've accumulated over the years, just waiting for you to recognize its true value and claim the fortune that could transform your life and the lives of everyone you love. Thank you so much for watching, and remember that the world of rare coins is filled with opportunities for those who take the time to learn and look carefully at what's in front of them. So make sure to like this video, subscribe to the Coins channel for more incredible coin hunting content. Share this information with your friends and family because someone you know might be sitting on a fortune, and most importantly, never stop checking your change because the next life-changing discovery could happen to you at any moment. And wouldn't it be amazing to be the person who found one of these legendary coins and turned 5 cents into millions of dollars simply by being observant and knowledgeable? Keep searching, keep learning, and remember that fortune favors the prepared mind in the fascinating world of numismatics.